Hi guys, it's Hailey, so welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be horror movies so bad that they're good. This video idea is actually from a YouTuber called PossessedbyHorror. She is a really cool horror YouTuber. If you're not subscribed to her already, definitely give her a sub. Also, I said horror, and sometimes it sounds like I said whore when I say horror, so don't misconstrue that. That could be bad. Anyways, I really enjoy her channel. It is mainly horror based and scary movies, all that fun stuff. So her videos are right up my alley. And I just thought this was a really cool video idea. I don't know if other people are doing this as well or are going to make it kind of like a tag, but personally, I like the idea of there being horror movies that are just known to be so bad that they're good. One thing I've noticed is I'll recommend horror movies for people to watch and they'll be like, Hailey, that was a bad movie. Why do you like that? But there really are just, there's some horror movies that they're bad. You know they're bad, but you can't help but love them. So that's what this video is all about for me. As always, whenever I do any listing off video, I use my iPad. So I will be reading off of here. And in her video, I think she did like 15 horror movies so bad they're good. It was like 10 or 15. Mine is just a random number. I don't even know how many are on there because I didn't count. But let's jump into it. So the first movie on this list for me is Scream 4. I think a lot of people are going to get this and also not get this one. I love the fourth Scream to death. It is my second favorite Scream movie, right behind the original. And a lot of people are like, why? Why Scream 4? Scream 4 was horrible. And although I do disagree that it was a horrible movie, I could see the cheesy value. It literally makes fun of itself. And I love that so much. I love that movie. I feel like it was kind of like reiterating the original Scream, which is kind of ironic, but I love it a lot. Hopefully I won't get too many people like, what? Again, this is also an opinion-based video. Everyone in the horror community has their own different movies that they like, their own style of horror, so do not shit on mine. I know that's a very common thing. Just wanted to put that out there. But anyway, so yeah, Scream 4. If you haven't watched Scream 4, give it a watch because it is delightfully cheesy and wonderful and amazing. This movie, I'm honestly putting on here because my boyfriend thinks it is the worst movie to ever come out. Like, not ever, but he thinks it's horrible. In fact, anytime I bring it up, he has to argue with me about why it's a terrible movie, and I loved it so much I saw it 4 times in theaters. This is The Strangers Prey at Night. I actually recently did a look from Dollface that is on my Instagram if you want to go check it out. I love The Strangers. It is one of my favorite film franchises out there, and this one was no different. I had so much anticipation for this movie before it came out, and I was scared. I was like, the first one is one of my favorite movies ever, and this one's just, I feel like it's not going to be good. And my friend Sophia, she's a really big fan of The Strangers too. She saw it in theaters with me, and we were both like, oh my god, that was such a good movie. So this movie has gotten some other hate besides just my boyfriend. I've noticed like on Twitter when it came out, people were like, that sucked, it was horrible. And I'm going to explain why it is probably a bad movie. When you compare The Strangers 2 to the original, it is so different. They almost don't even belong in the same film franchise. The first movie I would describe as like a not hunting, but like a cat and mouse type movie. Like they literally, if anything, I don't know why this one was necessarily called Prey at Night. They had like their prey and they were hunting them, already had them and kept playing games with them. So it wasn't necessarily just your typical slasher where there's just people getting killed off. And I really loved that element to the original film. I also thought the original film was just horrifying, and it was one of the only horror movies capable of creeping me out. Where this movie is different, this movie is a total slasher film. It is like the epitome of a slasher movie. It has music playing, which also, by the way, I love the soundtrack for The Strangers. Not The Strangers, Strangers 2. There is a really wonderful pool scene, which if you have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, that has Total Eclipse of the Heart playing while this incredible scene is going on. And a lot of people didn't like the music aspect of this movie either. Like, it was so cheesy and weird that they were playing like all this like 80s music while these masked people are trying to kill people. I really liked that. I guess what I'm saying, this was a cheesy movie, and I would understand people not liking it because it is so different than the original. They're not even in the same ballpark for horror. They are two different subgenres of horror. So my boyfriend has always said it almost like ruins the original one, like, because it's just so like, why would they make that? I really appreciated that it went its own direction. I think it created this different thing, and it didn't just make it so you're watching the same movie over again. I love this movie. I thought it was really, really good, and it is like one of my favorite new released movies. I love it. All right, time to open this again because I already forgot what other movies I had on this list. I can't even remember a single one. I'm locked out of my iPad. Am I gonna cut this out of the video? Probably not. Okay. The next movie, everyone I've showed this movie to besides Adrian have thought this movie was horrible, and I love it. I already put it on my Netflix movies you should watch video, but I'm gonna put it on here too. This is Terrifier. It is that clown movie it's literally a clown slasher. It is so incredible. Typical slasher movie, really awesome character, and I love this film so much. I love this film so much that I want to get Art the Clown tattooed on my body. Like, I love it. I've gotten in a fight with someone on Twitter about this movie. A lot of people do not like this movie. I mentioned on my Netflix video that people in the horror community either like really, really like this because it is just so like, I don't know, it's like a typical horror movie, but it's good. Or people hate it. Like, they're just like, it's so cheesy. But I love it. I know it's cheesy. It definitely is. But Art the Clown is just so cool. So the next movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. I really don't see anything wrong with this movie, but a lot of people hate it. A lot of people think that you should not even waste your time watching it. I don't even think it's a bad movie, if I'm being honest, but I'm putting it on this list because most like horror critics aren't going to be like, oh, this movie's just great. This movie is House of Wax, the remake, the one with Paris Hilton. Yes, that one. A lot of people think that this is just a horrible storyline movie. I really like the storyline. I thought it was a good concept. I thought it was great. I loved it. The thing you'll notice with a lot of these movies, they are slashers. I've already told you guys I love slasher movies. They are my shit. That is like my favorite genre of horror. And this was like the perfect slasher movie for me. If it is even a slasher, because it's making people into wax. I don't know if that... Point is, it's so good. It also has Chad Michael Murray in it, who is like one of my biggest celeb crushes ever. So that does not make the movie any worse than people would think it is. I'm trying to think what other... The soundtrack. The soundtrack has Deftones, Marilyn Manson, My Chemical Romance. One of the best soundtracks ever. I really don't see why this movie gets any hate. The acting for, like, not the killers in the movie, but, like, you know, the teens in the movie, it's not good acting. I'll give it that. And I guess it's cheesy in its own right in terms of, like, them. Like, the little... It's very typical and, like, oh, teenagers having sex and shit like that. So that's pretty typical. But besides that, some really, really gnarly deaths in there. I like the storyline. I also like the killer. I thought he was pretty cool. I love this film a lot, and I will always back it. So if you've not watched the remake of House of Wax, you're missing out, because I think most horror lovers enjoy this movie. It's just, it's a very known, like, oh, it's a bad film, though. Like, it's a bad movie. And I disagree, but it is on this list, because if I was like, oh, this is a flawless horror movie, people would crucify me. So there you go, House of Wax. Okay, this movie, everyone loves this movie. I love it, but I think it's definitely... Is it bad? I don't know. It's cheesy. It's weird. It doesn't feel like a horror movie, but it is. This movie came out that long ago, and it is Happy Death Day. I have yet to see the second one. Really, really want to see it, but I have not seen it yet. When I first saw the trailer for Happy Death Day, I thought it was going to suck. I was like, this movie can't possibly be done good. It was a cute movie. I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and most people have too. There's just something about it that stops it from being good. nose itch. I'm sorry, I'm not picking my nose. There's something that stops it from being good. I'm not really sure what that something is, but there's something that stops it from being like, oh, this is a phenomenal horror movie. Don't know what it is yet, but besides the cheesy factor, most of these movies are pretty cheesy. That's just a given. Next movie is like a cult horror movie for people, and I like it, but I've never understood why it is so glorified, and that movie is TrickorTreat. I also, you can't see him, but I have a giant Sam from TrickorTreat doll on that shelf. So I do like this film, but people actually get mad if you say this is a bad horror movie, and it just is. It's so, the storyline just isn't good. That's the simplest way to put it. I think most of us love the movie because Sam is just so freaking adorable with his little pumpkin lollipop, and he's just so cute. And some of the stories in the movie, basically, if you haven't seen Trick or Treat, it's like a movie with multiple little stories in it. I think there's like 8 different stories, and they all entangle into each other. Most of the stories are kind of whack, I'm not gonna lie, but a couple of them are pretty good. All in all, it's a decent movie. I just think it's a bad horror movie, and that is why it is on this list. I Know What You Did Last Summer. This, for me, I automatically loved it when I saw it because it's so 90s horror. It has Jennifer Love Hewitt in it, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr. Yeah, he's in it. Really, really good. I just can't get over the killer is a fisherman, and that already makes it like not a good horror movie. I love this movie because it's so 90s. I love 90s horror. It is one of my favorite like eras of horror, and this is like the epitome of 90s horror right along with Scream. So I love this movie. Is it bad? Yes, it is, but it's so bad you're just gonna enjoy it. This is a pretty popular one within the last couple of years. Don't get me wrong, it was popular when it came out, but everyone hated it when it came out. Jennifer's Body. So Jennifer's Body has Megan Fox in it. I'm pretty sure everyone on Earth knows what Jennifer's Body is, but if you don't, then go watch it. But I'm sure everyone has seen it. It is a horribly cheesy movie about a teenage girl who eats boys, and it's also really, really good. It's one of my guilty pleasures. I really enjoy this movie. It's a bad film. There's no getting around to it. You can't say it's not, but it's good. This movie, again, I don't think is bad, but everyone else does, and that is the Human Centipede. The Human Centipede is just a disgusting concept, and I think that's why automatically people are like, ugh, it's just trying to be shocking, and it is, though. It's horrifying, especially the second one. If you have ever seen the second Human Centipede, then you will know how horrifying that movie was. It was just, I was actually shocked for several scenes and disgusted, and I loved that because it takes a lot. It takes a lot in a horror movie for me to feel that. And the first one gives me that a little bit. I think people tend to over-exaggerate. It's a pretty gross movie, don't get me wrong, but the second one is a lot worse. Point is, people think this is a bad movie just because it's people with their butts sewn to other people's faces. And I get that, it's a little weird, but I think it's something we needed in the horror genre. I really like this movie. And the last movie on this list is One Missed Call. I don't know if you guys remember this. When I was a child, I was pretty little when this movie came out. I want to say I was like 10 or something. This was one of my favorite horrors as a kid. I thought the storyline was like phenomenal. And I still think it's pretty decent. It's very like, kind of like one of those teen horrors. And there's something about it that just gives it that like, oh, this is a very cheesy horror movie vibe. I've always thought it was pretty creepy, and the storyline itself, if you don't remember what One Missed Call is, it's where your phone rings and it's a voicemail of what you're saying when you die, and then you die a couple days later. Is that pretty similar to The Ring? Yes, it is, but it does have its little spin and its own twist, and I think that's what made it so great to me as a child, and I still really, really enjoy it. But the thing that makes it bad and cheesy is, I guess, that doesn't sound like a very good premise of a story, is like you hearing yourself die. But I think that they wrapped it up pretty nicely, if I'm remembering it right. I saw it like, I want to say like 2 years ago, maybe a little longer. Nevertheless, it's probably not the greatest horror movie, but I thoroughly enjoy it. So that is it for this list. I wonder how many movies I have on here. I'm not going to count them because I don't want to count in this video, but I think I had a nice little list. Let me know if you like any of these movies, if you hate them. Being respectful, of course. Like I said, I think a lot of people in the horror community are kind of like, they forget that horror is very subjective, and they'll be like, that's a horrible movie, you're a horrible person, you don't really like horror movies because you said that was a good movie. But I do like to know different opinions, as long as, like I said, you're respectful and can be like, oh, I didn't like this movie, but I really like this movie, because that's, you know, that's what it's all about. But anyways, let me know movies you think are so bad that they are good, or just movies that you know are bad horror films but you love them anyways. That's what these mainly were, minus a few that I will defend to the grave that I don't see why they're a bad movie. But anyways, have a good rest of your day, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!